Is it visible to all of you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. In the last few classes, all the resource persons, they have pointed out at the observation method. So today, we will give importance on the observation method in qualitative research. Now, what is observation method? The observation method is a research technique used to systematically observe and document behaviors, events, or phenomena in their natural settings. It involves directly observing and recording data without intervening or manipulating the environment being observed. Researcher initially raises some question before observation. For example, how one uses smartphone and how does it affect one's study. So the observation method is the most important method in qualitative research methodology, as well as if you want to do some quantitative research, initially you have to follow the observation method. Importance of observation method. Observations may be seen as the very foundation of everyday social interaction. As people participate in social life, they are diligent observers and commentators of others' behavior. Observation is also one of the most important research methods in social sciences, and at the same time, one of the most complex. It may be the main method in the project or one of several complementary qualitative methods. As a scientific method, it has to be carried out systematically with a focus on specific research questions. So the fundamental issue is the research question. So when you observe and based upon your observation, you can think of the research question, or if you have any research question, after that, you can start the observation. Therefore, we start with practical guide on clarifying research objectives, accessing the research field, selecting subjects, observers' roles, and tips on documenting the data collected. For example, we want to observe the behavioral pattern of the senior people who are in the old age home and who are not in the old age home. Suppose you want to study the behavior of the senior people. Okay. Then you have to select your research field. Again, selecting the subjects, that is their age range and their disability level, etc. The observation comprises several techniques and approaches that can be combined in a variety of ways. Observation can be either participant or not direct or indirect. So there are different types of observation. We will go to discuss that one also. Before that, we have to think about the sampling. In case of the observation, we can follow the time sampling. Time sampling observation is a method of collecting data or information in which a researcher watches participants for a specific amount of time and records whether or not a particular behavior or activity took place. For example, the behavior can be observed and recorded every 30 seconds. Okay, so this is the chart of the time sampling. Initially, you have to write down which behavior you want to observe and your total observation session, the interval length. After that, you have to write down date, time, and the interval number. So finally, total number of intervals, behavior observed. Yes or no. So it is a binary. This is the time sampling method. Time sampling method, this is very powerful tool for observation. Next is the event sampling. Event sampling in qualitative research provides a focused approach to understanding specific events or incidents and allows for a detailed exploration of their characteristics, context, and meanings within the broader research context. Event sampling is particularly useful when researchers want to gain an in-depth understanding of particular events or phenomena within a limited time frame. Conduct observations of the selected events or incidents. This could involve direct observations, field notes, audio or video recordings, or a combination of methods. It is important to be systematic and consistent in data collection to ensure reliability and validity. So here you can study the contextual factor also. So this is the event. There are several events are there, and whether that events occur and how many times it occurs, this is also available using that tally. I have told you earlier that observation method is a basic method. Like experimental method, observation also the basic method. You can apply in qualitative or the quantitative research. Now, I am coming to the checklist. When you observe, then you can follow the checklist. Checklist is a tool for the observation. A checklist is a tool used to ensure that tasks, items, or actions are completed or considered systematically. It is a list of the items, criteria, or steps that need to be checked, marked up, or completed. So, checklist is vital because of several reasons. I will tell you one by one. Checklists are designed to provide a structured approach and help individuals or teams stay organized, focused, and ensure that nothing is overlooked. They can be created in various formats, such as simple list or more detailed form, depending on the complexity and specific requirements of the task or situation. Checklist is important for the consistency. By using a checklist, observers can maintain consistency in their observations. It helps to standardize the process, ensuring that multiple observers follow the same criteria and evaluate the same set of items uniformly. So, observation, when you follow this method, this consistency technique, there you can assess the reliability of the data. Comprehensive coverage. Checklist assists in covering all necessary observation items. They prompt the observer to consider a wide range of factors or criteria that may be essential to the observation's purpose or objective. This reduces the likelihood of omitting crucial information. So this is called the important area of the observation. That is, it can cover all the details of the particular behavior. Another importance of observation is organization and efficiency. Checklists provide a clear structure for recording observations, making it easier to organize and document findings. They enable efficient data collection and analysis by providing a predefined framework that can be quickly filled in during or immediately after the observation. So checklist is essential if you want to follow any protocol. Then checklist can help you to understand whether all the protocols you have followed or not. So to design the protocol, you can make the checklist. And before making the checklist, you have to find out the causal relations of the behavior. Okay, so what is the behavior and what are the factors of that particular behavior? So you have to consider the causes as well as the specific type of behavior in your checklist. Another part is accuracy and reliability. Checklist enhance the accuracy and reliability of observations. By having specific criteria and items to evaluate, observers are less likely to rely on memory alone, reducing the risk of bias or subjective interpretation. So most of the time, we find that subjective interpretations are there. So these subjective interpretation or the subjective biasness that can be controlled by the checklist. Checklist help promote objectivity and consistency in the observation process. Okay, so checklist is vital in any sort of operations. Okay. Another advantage of the checklist is that comparison and analysis. Using a checklist allows for easy comparison and analysis of observations over time or across different observations. The structured nature of checklists enables data to be easily compiled, analyzed, and compared, leading to valuable insights and trends. So if you apply the checklist, you can analyze the trend of the specific type of behavior over different periods. So that is another advantage of the checklist. Documentation and communication. This is also important for checklist use. Checklists serve as a valuable documentation tool. They provide a concise summary of the observed information, making it easier to communicate findings to others, such as colleagues, stakeholders, or decision makers. So if you follow the checklist, then you can maintain the good documentation. And finally, if there will be any crisis, then your checklist can give you sufficient information about the underlying reason for the crisis. So checklist is vital in observation. Okay. So when you want to observe anything, you can think about the checklist. Next part is the anecdotal report. What is anecdotal report? Finally, after the observation, you have to submit the anecdotal report. An anecdotal report is a form of documentation that presents specific incidents, observations, or events in a descriptive narrative format. So what you are observing, you will write all those things in a descriptive format. It is typically used in educational settings, particularly in early childhood education and special education, to record and analyze behavioral or developmental patterns of individual students. So if you want to apply any intervention in case of the school settings, then you can follow this anecdotal report. Any sort of intervention, even in the medical settings, anecdotal report is important. It aims to provide a comprehensive and objective account of the event, enabling educators or professionals to gain insight into the student's strength, weakness, progress, or areas of concern. The key elements of anecdotal report. The report should provide a clear and factual description of the incident or behavior, avoiding subjective interpretations or options. In our music therapy course, we have trained our students to write the anecdotal reports after observing the patient suffering from major depressive disorder. And they have submitted their report based upon the factual description.
Sir, may I ask a question?
Sure, sure.
Sir, why this is called anecdotal? Why it is not called observation report?
Anecdotal report and the observation report, it is same, because whatever you have observed, you are writing, and specifically in anecdotal, you are giving the specific event. Observation report observation includes many things. But when you are talking about the anecdotal report, then that anecdotal report is specific to the specific type of event. Observation is the method.
Sir, I have actually, I have some, maybe it is misinterpretation. When it is anecdotal report, we have to submit in our BSc course or MSc course, nursing course. And in this, in that time, we have submit anecdotal report in the unusual case. In unusual case in the anecdotal report.
Okay, so if you observe something unusual case, that you can include in the anecdotal report.
Unusual means that what is our duty or the medical practitioner's duty in that in our medical case or medical field. I have submitted an anecdotal report of the pacemaker, removal of pacemaker after dying one patient in the emergency ward. And this is done by a sweeper. Sweeper means, yes, it is done by a sweeper. While it is the duty of a medical officer, but sweeper is very much skilled to removal of pacemaker from the death patient. And I have to submit this report as an anecdotal. I have some
nice.
that type
that
interpretation nice. I
have. So during your observation, you can, if you find any unusual behavior, that can be included in your report. That is also possible. It is not that all the behaviors will be usual mode. So if any particular behavior that is unusual, that can be included in the anecdotal report. Because anecdotal report can provide sufficient information about why the change in specific type of behavior. Now, the contextual information, this is vital. I think in observation method, one important issue is the triangularity, and particularly for that reason, contextual information is important. It is important to document relevant contextual information, such as the time, location, activity, and individuals present during the incident. This helps to understand the factors that may have influenced the behavior. So when you will observe the change in specific type of behavior, then what are the reasons for the change in the behavior? That can be accounted in the anecdotal report. Behavior details. In the anecdotal report, behavior details will be there. Describe the specific behavior exhibited by the individual, including its duration, intensity, frequency, and any patterns observed. So, though it is written duration, intensity, frequency in the quantitative format, but when you are writing the anecdotal report, you can include all of them. Observations and interactions. Record any relevant observations or interactions within the individual or others that may provide additional context or insights into the behavior. So these are the things in the key elements. Another thing, analysis and interpretation. While the primary focus of an anecdotal report is on providing an objective description, it may also include some analysis or interpretation of the behavior in light of the students' overall development or specific goals. Since I am giving the example from the educational setting, so I am using the student issue. Another important part is the reflections. Reflections element in an anecdotal report refers to the analysis, interpretation, and insights gained from the incidents or observations described in the report. It goes beyond the objective description of the event and provides a deeper understanding of the behavior, its possible causes, and its implications for the individual's development or progress. So we have understood what is observation method. We have understood the sampling, time sampling, event sampling. After that, we have learned the tools of observation. First one is the checklist, and second one is the anecdotal report. Now I am giving you some exercise. Are you ready for the exercise? Then I can give you some exercise. Hello, students, are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So open your notebook. Open your notebook. Have you opened your notebook? Hello. Devjani, notebook open?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So can you show me your notebook?
Sir.
Notebook. Just show the notebook.
Okay, sir. I have to light.
Okay, Mona Lisa. Yeah, everybody can show me the notebook. And it will be the white page. One can be the demonstrator. Okay, okay. So this is your notebook. Okay. Now, okay, thank you, Mona Lisa. Please show me your notebook. Tumana Shah, do you have the notebook? Reena Datta?
Yes, sir.
Please open your notebook. Okay. And you close your eyes. After that, you draw one circle. By closing your eyes, you draw the circle. And you show me the circle that you have drawn. Circle drawn. By closing your eyes, have you drawn the complete circle?
Yes, sir. No, no, sir. Actually, it is.
Okay, no problem. No problem. It is okay. Whatever the circle you have drawn, please you show me. It is not okay, but this is it shows okay.
Sir, it is.
So not the complete circle, na?
Yes,
At
yes,
least
sir.
one part
One part is broken. One part is broken.
Yeah, one part is broken. Okay. I think everybody has drawn the circle. Mona Lisa, have you drawn?
Yes, sir. Drawn.
Whether the circle is complete?
Yes.
Or some part is broken? Some part is broken, na? Whether you have drawn it by closing your eyes?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, so some part is broken.
Yeah.
Now, so this is the thing you have observed. That is, when you are drawing a circle by closing your eyes, at that time, some part is broken.
Yes, sir. Some part is broken in my circle.
Okay. So this is the observation. Now, if I tell you, that is, now you write the anecdotal report, at least the interpretation element, then what will be? If you write the anecdotal report of your circle drawing behavior. Suppose circle drawing behavior is your behavior. And when you have drawn it, finally you have noted that is some part is broken. It is not complete circle. Deepjani, এটা clear?
হ্যাঁ স্যার, স্যার একবার বলবেন একটু, একবার একটু বলবেন।
This is the observation. Okay, you have observed that is when you are drawing the circle, closing your eyes, you have noted that it is not the complete circle.
Yes.
Some parts are broken.
Yes,
okay,
sir.
so this is your observation.
Yes.
Now you have to think, that is why some part is broken. Why some part is broken? So that can be understood through the anecdotal report. Okay, so the factual report is some part is broken, but non-factual, that is the underlying reason that you are writing in the anecdotal report, that is the some factors that can contribute why some part of the circle is broken. Therefore, anecdotal report is vital, and anecdotal report should be recorded in such a manner so that the observer's own interpretation that will be included in the anecdotal report. So observer must be trained. Before writing the anecdotal report, observer must be trained about the specific behavior.
Sir, I have a question. Yes,
No,
sir.
after this,
Okay, okay.
so that I can finish my. Here I have written, while the primary focus of anecdotal report is on providing the objective description, it may also include some analysis or interpretation of the behavior in light of the student's overall development or specific goals. Okay. Here I have also written, that is reflections. This is vital in anecdotal report. It includes the analysis, interpretation, and insight gained from the incidents or observations described in the report. It goes beyond the objective description of the event. So beyond the objective description of the event, this is vital in anecdotal report. Now I am coming to the different types of observation. One is the structured observation. In structured observation, the researcher defines specific behaviors or events to be observed and develops a predetermined observation protocol or checklist. This method allows for standardized data collection and easier comparison across different observations. So in case of the structured observation, you are using the predetermined observation protocol or the checklist. I have already told you the importance of checklist. Structured observation is a qualitative research methodology that has been used by the social sciences for several years. It is a methodology in which an event or series of events is observed in its natural setting and recorded by an independent researcher. Develop an observation protocol or checklist that outlines the behaviors, actions, or events to be observed. The protocol should provide clear instructions on what to observe and how to record the observations, and any relevant codes or categories to be used. So when you want to follow the structured observation, then you are guided by the specific guidelines. Conduct observations using the structured observation protocol. Observers should carefully and systematically record the behaviors, actions, or events using the predefined categories or codes. This can be done through field notes, checklist, audio or video recordings of a combination of method. Data analysis and reporting. Analyze the collected data to identify patterns, themes, or insights related to your research question. This could involve coding the data based on the predefined categories, calculating frequencies or proportions of specific behaviors, or conducting comparative analysis across different observations. Next, interpretation and reporting. Interpret the findings from the analysis and relate them to your research question and objectives. Consider the implications of the observed behaviors or events for your research context. Finally, report your findings using appropriate qualitative research reporting conventions. Structured observation method provides a systematic and standardized approach to data collection. It may not capture the full complexity or context of the observed behaviors or events. So that is the limitation. And also the advantage. Researchers should consider combining the structured observation method with other qualitative techniques, such as interviews or participant observation, to gain a comprehensive understanding of the phenomena under study. Now I am coming to the another type. This is called naturalistic observation. Naturalistic observation takes place in the participants' natural environment without any manipulation or intervention by the researcher. The goal is to capture behaviors and events as they naturally occur. So you are not making any intervention, or you are not manipulating anything for the change in the behavior. You are just looking at the behavior without any intervention. So that is the part of the naturalistic observation. Define what you want to observe and the specific behaviors or phenomena you are interested in studying. So you are guided by your research question also, because research questions tell you what to observe. Choose the appropriate setting where the behavior naturally occurs. It could be a public place, a classroom, a workplace, or any other environment relevant to your research question. So this is also vital. You have to think the specific type of setting wherein you can find out the specific behavior that you want to observe. Decide how you will select participants or subjects for your observation. You can use random sampling, stratified sampling, or other methods depending on your research goals. So you can use random sampling technique or the stratified sampling technique, which usually we use for the quantitative research. Again, that you can follow in case of the naturalistic observation, because you are here acting as the observer. And you want to find out whether the strata is any factor for the change in behavior or not. Obtain permission and ensure ethics. If you are observing in a public place, you generally don't require explicit permission. However, if you are observing in private spaces or with specific individuals, obtain informed consent and follow ethical guidelines. So, ethical issues are vital in case of the observation. Decide how you will collect data during the observation. You can use different techniques such as written notes, video recording, audio recording, or a combination of these methods. Make sure to choose a method that allows you to capture the relevant behaviors accurately. Conduct a pilot test to ensure that your observation methods are suitable and that you can effectively capture and record the desired behaviors. So, pilot test, that is also part of your observation, so that you can understand that is what are the limitations for observing a specific event and what will be your strategies for observing one's behavior. Conduct a pilot test to ensure that your observation methods are suitable and that you can effectively capture and record the desired behaviors. After the observation, analyze the collected data to identify patterns, themes, or trends in the observed behavior. You can use various qualitative and quantitative analysis techniques depending on the nature of your data. Now I am coming to the another type of observation. This is very important observation. This is called the participant observation. Usually, the sociologists, anthropologists, they are applying participant observation. Even the psychologists also, but most of the time, the sociologists and anthropologists, they are using participant observation. It involves the active involvement of the researcher in the social setting being studied, where the researcher becomes a participant observer. Determine the objectives of your research and what you hope to gain from the participant observation. Choose the appropriate social setting or community where you can conduct your participant observation. It could be a specific group, organization, or community that is relevant to your research question. Once upon a time, I wanted to observe the food-taking behavior of the workers in the canteen. And I have not told them that is, I am a researcher. And whatever the foods they are taking, I am also taking that food. And you will be surprised to note that most of the foods are covered with sands because I have taken the foods in the sintering plant. So there I have noted that is how the food changes one's work efficiency. In another situation, I want to observe that is why the workers who are working in the operation floor, they become deaf very easily. Okay. So I visited the plants in the operation floor and I have followed their behavior during any emergency situation. So how the sound acts as the deficiency in the hearing. So this thing is very important. Establish contact and gain the trust of the participants in the social setting. Explain your research intentions, build relationships, and establish rapport with the individuals or groups you will be observing. This step is crucial for obtaining informed consent and ensuring ethical research practices. So participant observation can provide you a lot of the insight about why the specific type of behavior occurred in specific type of situation. Participant role and immersion. This is very, very important in participation observation. Determine your role as a participant observer. It could range from being an active participant, engaging in the activities of the group, to a more passive observer, mainly observing without direct participation. Find the balance that allows you to gather the necessary data while respecting the dynamics of the setting. Choose appropriate data collection techniques that suit your research goals. This can include field notes, interviews, audio or video recordings, photographs, and other forms of documentation. Ensure that your chosen technique align with ethical considerations and the preferences of the participants. Nowadays, ethical considerations are vital. Therefore, you have to maintain the ethical consideration for the observation. During your participant observation, take detailed field notes and record relevant data. Note down observations, conversations, interactions, and any other significant aspects of the social setting. Maintain a systematic record that captures the context and nuances of the observed behaviors and events. Later, analyze the collected data, identify patterns, themes, and key insights. Okay, so during your observation, you can collect the interactions with the people in different type of social settings. Next is the reflexivity and self-reflection. Throughout the process, engage in self-reflection and reflexivity. Consider your own biases. You have to think, that is, whatever your interpretation, whether that interpretation is due to your own bias or not. Preconceptions and how your presence as a researcher may influence the dynamics of the social setting. This is very, very vital. That is, you have the preconceived ideas. So you have to control your preconceived ideas. Because whatever the event, that event occurs due to some other factor which is unique in that particular context. Be aware of your own subjectivity and make efforts to minimize its impact on the data collection and analysis. This is very vital. That is, your own subjective knowledge that can affect the interpretation of the event. Therefore, you must be free from your own subjectivity so that your analysis will not be biased. Triangulation and member checking. To enhance the validity and credibility of your findings, consider using triangulation, which involves using multiple sources of data or involving other researchers in the analysis process. Additionally, seek feedback from participants to validate your interpretations and ensure accuracy. This is also important in the participant observation. That is the multiple sources of data and involving other researchers. Why? So that your interpretation will be free from your own subjective biasness. Ethical considerations. Maintain ethical practices throughout the participant observation process. Respect the privacy, confidentiality, and rights of the participants. Obtain informed consent, address any potential harm or conflicts that may arise, and adhere to ethical guidelines and regulations. Reporting and dissemination. Present your findings and insights in a clear and organized manner. Use appropriate techniques such as academic papers, reports, presentations, or visual media to disseminate your research to relevant audiences. This is important. Why? Because not only you are disseminating the knowledge, but also you are getting some insights from the people in the conference who can give you some another interpretations of your own analysis. Therefore, dissemination of the knowledge, that is also vital in case of the participant observation. Now I am coming to another type. This is called non-participant observation. Non-participant observation involves observing from a distance without actively participating in the setting or group being observed. This researcher remains an external observer and avoids influencing the behaviors or events taking place. During non-participant observation, the researcher typically takes on the role of an objective observer, carefully documenting and analyzing the behaviors, interactions, and events that occur within the observed setting. The observer may record observations using various techniques such as field notes, audio or video recordings, or even photographs. Non-participant observation has several advantages. It allows researchers to collect data in real-life context, capturing genuine behaviors and interactions. It can be particularly useful when studying sensitive or private subjects where participant involvement might be intrusive or alter the natural behavior being studied. Additionally, non-participant observation can provide a broader perspective by observing multiple individuals or groups simultaneously. There are also limitations to this method. The observer's presence may still affect the behavior of those being observed, as people might become self-conscious or other actions due to the awareness of being watched. Additionally, the observer's interpretations and biases can influence the data collected, highlighting the importance of maintaining objectivity and rigor in analysis. Another type of observation, this is controlled observation. Controlled observation is a method commonly used in qualitative research to collect data by systematically observing and documenting behaviors, interactions, or phenomena in a controlled setting. In controlled observation, the researcher establishes specific conditions or manipulates variables to study their impact on the observed behavior. So here, observer manipulates the variable because it is the controlled observation technique. I have told you already that is observation is a basic method for scientific research. And there are different variations of the observation method. So in some variation, you do not find any intervention of the observer on the observed behavior. And in some variation, you can find out that is the observer intervenes to find out whether that intervention has any effect on the behavior or not. So create a controlled environment that allows you to manipulate the variables and observe the behavior under specific conditions. This may involve creating a laboratory setting, arranging props, or controlling the physical environment. So here, observer is guided by the literature review. Develop an observation protocol. Define the specific behaviors, interactions, or phenomena you want to observe, and create a detailed observation protocol that outlines the target behaviors, their definitions, and any specific criteria you will use to measure or assess them. This is very important. When you want to observe, you have to define the operational definition of the observed behavior. So that your observation will be very much structured in nature. In the control observation condition. Data analysis. Once the observation is complete, analyze the data collected during the observation process. This may involve transcribing and coding the data, identifying patterns or themes. You have already understood different type of coding process, transcription process, and how to find out the themes through the coding, axial coding, etc. You are getting the themes and you can understand the patterns of the behavior. Drawing conclusions based on the observed behaviors and their relationship to the manipulated variables. This is also very important. Controlled observation allows researchers to gain in-depth insights into the behaviors or phenomena under specific conditions. By manipulating variables and carefully controlling the environment, researchers can better understand the impact of these factors on the observed behavior. Okay, because here your intention is to find out the effect of some intervention on one's behavior. Okay, now I am coming to the advantages and disadvantages of naturalistic observation. So that when you will follow the naturalistic observation, you will be careful of it. Naturalistic observation provides a realistic and authentic picture of behavior in its natural setting. So this is the advantage, because you are not manipulating any variable. So you are getting the authentic picture. Allows for the observation or spontaneous and uncontrolled behavior. So you can study the spontaneous behavior. Reduces the risk of observer bias since the researcher is not interfering with the environment. So that is another advantage. Difficult to control variables or manipulate the environment. So this is the some disadvantage. It is time consuming and may require long observation periods to capture the rare events. And ethical considerations may arise if privacy or consent issues are involved. Now coming to the advantages and disadvantages of controlled observation. Advantages like that. It provides the opportunity to manipulate variables and control the environment. It enables the researcher to replicate the study and compare results. So it gives a lot of the opportunities for another researcher to find out whether the change in the behavior occurs due to the intervention factor or not. The disadvantage is that the artificial setting may influence participants' behavior, and results may lack ecological validity due to the controlled environment. Observer bias can be a concern if the researcher's presence affects participants' behavior. So this is the disadvantage of the controlled observation. Now coming to the advantages and disadvantages of participant observation. I have told you that participant observation provides you very in-depth understanding about the specific social and cultural context. Participant observation offers an in-depth understanding of the social and cultural context. It allows the researcher to experience the situation firsthand and gain insights not obtainable through the other methods. This is very, very important in case of the participant observation. As researcher himself or herself is immersed into the process of research. It builds rapport and trust with participants, facilitating data collection. So in case of the participant observation, you can understand why a specific type of behavior occurs in a specific type of community. So participant observation also important in ethnographic research. It has some limitations. The researcher's involvement may alter participants' behavior. Potential bias or subjectivity due to the researcher's interpretations and personal experiences. Again, it may be that time-consuming and require long-term immersion in the setting. This is very, very important in case of the participant observation. You have to spend a long time because you have to develop the trust of the particular community. Okay, and this trust can help you to observe the specific type of behavior. Advantages and disadvantages of non-participant observation. Advantages: it reduces the risk of influencing participants' behavior by maintaining a passive role. It allows for observation in situations where participation may not be possible or desirable. So this is the important condition. It can provide valuable insights into social dynamics and interactions. But again, some of the limitations are there because it lacks the personal experiences. Therefore, it may limit the researcher's understanding. Difficulty in obtaining detailed information about participants' thoughts and motivations. Observer bias can still occur if the researcher's presence is detected and alters the behavior. So this is the limitation of the non-participant observation. Now, advantages and disadvantages of structured observation. Advantages: it enables systematic and standardized data collection because you are guided by the specific research question. So that is your advantage. So you will not be distracted from your own research question. So that is the very important in case of the scientific research. Most of the time, researcher distracts from one observation to another observation. But in case of the structured observation, there is no scope for distraction because you are guided by the standardized data collection process. It enhances reliability by using predetermined categories and coding schemes. So this is very, very important in case of the structured observation. It allows for quantitative analysis and statistical comparisons. Because all things are standardized. The limitations of this technique, it may overlook nuances and the context-specific behaviors. Since you are guided by the standard data collection tool, there is high possibility that you may get some information. And what are the context for that specific type of behavior? Since that is not in your standardized tool, you may overlook that type of context. It can be time-consuming and challenging to capture the complex behaviors. So this is the disadvantage. That is when the behavior occurs for several reasons. You may not capture those reasons because those reasons are not included in your standardized tool. Limited flexibility in adapting to unexpected or unanticipated events. So that may happen in case of the structured observation. So anything can be happened and that can change the behavior. But since you are guided by the standardized tool, so you are missing that particular information. So this is the disadvantage. Conclusion. It's important to choose the appropriate type of observation research based on the research goals. So be careful about your research goals. What is your research goal? You must be clear about your research goal and the context and feasibility, while also considering the potential advantages and limitations of each method. So today, I have told you different methods of observation, because observation is the primary method of scientific research. And for the different purposes, observation method has some variations. And I have discussed the variations as well as their advantages and the disadvantages. So thank you, all the students, for giving me opportunity to share the knowledge about the observation method. Now, if you have any question, you can ask. Hello.
Students, are there any doubts?
Sir, non-participant observation is the CCTV. From the CCTV, we would get observation report, no?
Yeah, from the CCTV, through the CCTV, you can get it. But you must follow the ethical considerations. Otherwise, you'll be in trouble, because there will be some privacy. So you must be very much careful about it. The participant observation is very, very challenging.
The naturalistic observation in their home setting or in that setting?
Yeah, naturalistic observation in the home setting or in the play settings. Students are playing and you are observing their behavior, or in the industry, workers are working and you are observing their behavior. For example, once upon a time and motion study that is conducted by the industrial engineers. So initially they are following this naturalistic observation. After that, they have identified that is how to control the work behavior following minimum movement within a specific type of time limit can improve the efficiency of the workers. So that is also all the observations method that I have discussed. It can be applied in school settings, in case of the work settings, in case of the medical settings, everywhere, because observation is the primary method, just like experimental method. Observation is also the primary. Observation is the baseline. When you want to do any sort of research, observation is the baseline.
Actually, sir, you have told that controlled observation, and that is when we provide some therapy in a setting, in a environment, but that is somehow controlled.
Yeah, that is true, because you are applying some intervention for the change in the behavior. For example, you want to control the excitement of the patient suffering from high level of depression. So you have administered some antidepressive drug and you are observing, that is following the time and event sampling. That is whether the specific type of event occurs or not. So you have to follow the event and time sampling. That is the, again, basic thing. Whatever the observation method you will follow, you must be guided by the time sampling and the event sampling. You have to initially think about, that is, what is the event you have to observe. This is vital. For example, you want to apply music on the behavioral pattern of the depressive patient. So before administration of the music, you are studying the behavior of the individual. And during listening to the music, you are studying the behavior of the individual. And after the listening to the music, you are studying the behavior of individual. So you are studying the behavior of the individual in three conditions: before administration of the music, another one is the during listening to the music, and after listening to the music. So this is possible. You can apply the same thing. You may find maybe some excitations, maybe there is some awkward behavior, but when you administer the music, then you will find that is this awkward behavior is gradually lessening, and you are finding that is maybe the individual is closing the eyes. So that is also the observation. And after the music, you have noted that is the patient's behavior totally change, not the high excitation. Once upon a time, we have applied this technique in one setting, that is the vibroacoustic technique we have applied on the hyperactive child. And we have noted that is the hyperactivity behavior that is gradually lessening during the vibroacoustic intervention. So this is possible. So in the vibroacoustic intervention, the music basically changes the mechanical parts of the bed, and whatever the music is going on, accordingly, there is a wave in the bed, and the patient or the individual, he is lying on the bed and he is experiencing the music through the mechanical wave. So this is a very beautiful technique where the music has been engineered for relaxation exercise. So there are a lot of the techniques researcher can think before observation. You must be guided by your research question. This is very, very important.
Yes, sir. Yes.
So effect of music on the change in behavior is very interesting. That is applicable in industrial setting, in case of the medical setting also. Not only the music, but also some training method you want to apply. You can study the effect of training on the change in behavior. In one jute mill, I have done some research. That is how the workers' education changes the behavior of the workers before the training, during the training, and after the training. And I submitted this to the Ministry of Labor, and I have received the award from late Sri Pranab Mukherjee. So this is based upon my research on the workers' education. I conducted this program in Ambika Jute Mill because the people are thinking that is jute industries are sunset industries. And I am thinking that is it sunset industry or it can be viable? If it want to be viable, then how can we make the jute industry as viable? What is the solution? And finally, I have done this research. So there are a lot of researches can be done following the observation method. I regularly went to the plant and I observed the workers' behavior. What are they doing? And I am taking the notes regularly. I have studied their behavior. And then I identified what type of trainings are to be provided to the workers so that workers' efficiency can be improved. And I conducted some focus group discussion also there with the company managers and also the rank and file workers, union leaders I have done. So I collected a lot of the qualitative data initially, almost 300, more than 300 qualitative information I have noted. And finally, I have categorized them into 4 or 5 themes. And based upon those 4 or 5 themes, I have designed the training programs, conducted the training program through specific experts. And I observed their different types of parameters, particularly the quality control parameters I collected that data from the company and I have noted the change in their behavior due to the training. So this is one aspect. Okay, so may I close now? Or anything to be asked?
Students, in case of any doubts, even related to practicum, you can ask right now.
Yeah, related to practicum, you can ask.
Sir, reflexivity and self-reflection, how we can observe in the observation method?
No, in case of the reflection, that is not the based upon your factual data. Based upon the factual data and based upon your own research, then you can think about the reflection.
Yes, sir.
So it is not mere the factual data. So whatever the factual data you are getting and your own research insight, and based upon that, you are predicting. For example, what I have told you, that is in the jute mill, I observed the factual data. And based upon that factual data, I am also thinking why this type of behavior people are doing. What is the underlying reason? I am also thinking. So that is the reflection. That is the unobserved behavior. Okay. That is very important in case of the observation. Observation is not merely only the factual report. It is more than that. And again, you have to validate, because finally I have validated the model. By collecting the data. That is the quantitative data, is quality control data. And I observed the change in the accident pattern, in change in the absenteeism pattern, and change in the quality of the product, finished product. And I collected that data. So that is the validation. Because observation is the primary method. In case of report writing, I have already given you the format. Please follow the format. There will be two approaches. One is the single case study, another one is the multiple. So just you think about specific type of behavior. If it is unique behavior, that is fine. And then you observe that particular behavior. You can interact with the individual and you can record whatever the information you have received. And after that, following the format, you can submit your report. And be careful, please you add some literature review also, so that you can understand, that is whether your observation is giving you sufficient knowledge or not. Okay, so may I close now?
Yes, sir.
So I'm requesting all of you, please close your hands for the prayer. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purna Purnamadachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Okay, thank you everybody. Good night. Best wishes to
Thank
all
you,
of you.
sir.
Thank you, sir.